Okay. So we are still doing chapter 2, contents of the Gita summarized. Okay. And let us pay obeisance to Sri Radha Govinda. Do a Mangla Charan. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Nanakashalakaya Chakshulumitamena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manoabhishtam Sthapitamena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yutapada Kamalam Shri Guru Vaishnamscha Shri Rupam Sagarajatam Sahagana Raghunathan Vittam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakana Vittamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dino Bandho Jagat Pate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpatrabhyascha Kripa Sindhuvevacha Patitam Nam Pavinebhyo Vaishnavyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swamiti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatesha Tarine Jayo Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabho Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasa Adi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Okay, let us see. So we are in the chapter 2. So we have completed our 38 verses till now. So where Krishna is answering the doubts, clearing the doubts. Doubts, clearing the thing what Arjuna had raised the objections. For that, he was giving his answers, counter argument, right? So we have seen the argument for compassion. Then we saw the where he gave the knowledge of the soul, and then we saw the counter argument for not why he is not getting enjoyment. There won't be any enjoyment while this. Now we have in the section D, where Buddhi Yoga, fight but without any reaction. So we are going to see that. So what did we recap? Either you will be killed in the battle and attain heavenly planets, or you will conquer and you will enjoy the earthly kingdom. So it's a win-win situation. So there is there's telling, there's enjoyment. There is enjoyment because it's a win-win situation. Either you will be killed and you go to the heavenly planets, or you will conquer and you'll be here in the earthly kingdom. So you get up with determination and fight, says Krishna here. And then it goes beyond that. Now he wants to take him to another level. See, first when he talked about the compassion, he was on the spiritual level. He said that we are the soul and not the body. The body perishes, whereas the soul is eternal. So you're not killing anybody here. Just, you have to fight and they will be only changing the bodies. But now he's telling, then he said to be in the material platform. He says, enjoyment, there is a win-win situation. Why bother? You will fight. If you don't fight only, there's a problem because you will be not doing a duty, so it will be sinful. And also you will be getting infamous. I mean, people will criticize you and that is not, and dishonor. That is not right. So not fighting only, you will get into problems. So it's a win-win situation. You do fight. But then in the last verse which we did, 38, there he says to go beyond the enjoyment. Why? Fight for the sake of fighting without considering happiness or distress, sukha, dukkha, samapritva, loss or gain, or victory or defeat, yudhaya, yujasva. And so by doing, you shall never incur sin. So now he is coming to the third reason for incurring sin. So he says to go beyond enjoyment. So in the verses, we gave the jnana, that is, I'm the soul and not the body. And then he talked about karma, why you have to fight. Now he is going to combine the two. He says, fight with the knowledge. That means you go beyond the thing. Why bother about happiness or uh, distress or gain or loss? I think you just go beyond that. You will not incur sin. Naivam papam avaksha. So what is he telling us to do? To do your selflessly do your duty. Nishkama karma yoga. That means you, without any material desires, you work and then offer the results to Krishna. So either you do the Nishkama Karma or you can offer the results. And what happens if you offer the results? Then accept everything is belonging to Krishna. Okay. That is what he said. It means that is nothing because the results are all due to him. Yes, he's the cost. So now he's telling us to go beyond enjoyment, right? So how we do that and how to go beyond that is what comes in the next two verses. It says, Esha te abhitya sanke buddhi roge tvam shruno buddhya yukto ya partha karma bandham parihasasi. That is, thus far, I have described this knowledge to you through analytical study. That is Sankhya. Right? Sankhya thing, I have told you what is, this is soul and this is body and what is matter and soul and matter. He gave all the characteristics and everything. And now, Buddhi Yoga. Now listen as I explain it in terms of working without fruitive results. That is Buddhi Yoga. O son of Pritha, when you act in such knowledge, you can free yourself from bondage of works. So now he's going to give us the attitude with which you have to work. He says to work without fruitive results, right? So that way you are not going to get bonded by the works. You won't get bondage to the reaction to the works, karma. So how you Buddhi Yoga. Actually, this is very important for us grahasthas to understand because generally we are living in this world. We are with the society. We are moving there. We have a job. We are a family. We are socializing with people, interacting with material energy. So there's so much chance to get stuck in this material energy, right? So how do we are a family person. So how do you come out of it? How do you get be detached? So this is where very helpful, this section of Gita. Okay, he's telling us how to come out of this situation immediately. And you can't just come out immediately. It takes time. It is the way you have to work. So it's such a way that even if you are in the society, you don't get contaminated by the associations. How do you do it? That is through Buddhi Yoga. So here you have to develop this attitude. So when Krishna Arjuna says, okay, you are Kshatriya, yes. I have to fight, yes. But I have to kill my enemies, yes. But I am not the body. So you have to be in that platform, that you are not the body or the soul and you're just doing a duty. So this attitude, how will it tell? That glories for this attitude is telling it in the next verse, in the first. Neha vikrama nashatsi pratyavayo na vidyate swalpam api asya dharmasya trayate mahato bhapya. What does it mean? In this endeavor, the way you do now with it, you by doing this Buddhi Yoga, what happens? There's no loss or diminution. A little advancement on this path can protect one from the most dangerous type of fear. So what does he say here? That is, if you work on this, in this endeavor, there's no loss or diminution. And there's no loss or diminution. A little advancement can protect one from the most dangerous type of fear. What is the thing? What happens? What is the problem with material activities? With material plane, whatever you do, you cannot complete it. Unless you complete it, you will get the success. Like if you're building a house, unless you complete the whole house construction, only then you can live in it. If you have done it incomplete, you can't, isn't it? Or if you have enrolled into a college and you have done 3 years of schooling and there, and you have not gone, you have dropped out. then you won't get a degree, isn't it? You have to complete that course, only then you will get the degree. So in this material plane, whatever activity we do, unless we do it 100%, you can't expect to get any success. But uh, and and also you have to do it perfectly. Otherwise, if you do it imperfectly, also there's a problem. So with this thing here, Krishna says that, but if you do any work done in Krishna consciousness, there's a permanent effect, even though not finished. So that is what, there's no loss or diminution, and any little advancement on this path can protect one from the most dangerous type of fear. So working, if we work, material activities and their results end with the body. But work in Krishna consciousness carries a person again to Krishna consciousness even after the loss of the body. Suppose if you have progressed in this life for 10%, in the next life, you will start from the 10%. It's not that you have to come to zero. Whereas in the material activities, you again have to start from LKG, and again you have to start your education, and everything starts. You don't carry over the thing, whatever education you've got here, you don't carry that in the next life. So, and at least one is sure to have a chance. And why he says don't, if you advance here, you can, this advancement in this path can protect one from the most dangerous type of fear. What is the fear we have? That we may not be born as a human being again. You might, when there's 84 lakhs of species, in that only 4 lakhs of species are human beings. And it's very, the probability, if you look, it's very, very small. Okay. And that's one fear, that if you take the Krishna consciousness, then there is no loss or diminution, because at least you can be sure to have a chance in the next life of being born again as a human being, either in the family of a great cultured Brahmana or in a rich aristocratic family. That will give one a further chance for elevation. So this is the unique quality of work done in Krishna consciousness. So if you work in Buddhi Yoga, that is what the glorification. Here the Lord says, the greatest fear you won't have, because there is no loss or diminution. So you might say, I've done so many sins and I don't know what all I've done in my previous life and everything. But doesn't matter. If you have started now, if you have entered into this, that's all it matters. Okay? That's what here we understand. So if any progress we do, it is always cumulatively, you will get it added up in the next life too. Okay? So here, in this endeavor, there's no loss or diminution. A little advancement on this path can protect one from the most dangerous type of fear. And what is the thing? Here we saw, no, that we had discussed even when we were in the batch, the 18 days course, we had given this example of Hanuman. He was burning the whole city of Lanka, and he was doing it for the Lord. So it might be looking externally, it's a bad, you can cite, it is burning of thing, it's a sin. But actually, when you do it for the Lord, it is not a sin. And here Vibhishana is surrendering to Lord Rama and is coming away from his brother. So it's not thing. So that is it's not a sinful activity. Whatever you do for the Lord doesn't incur any sin. Okay. And also this hamster, when it goes, I think that is also not the same thing. Yes, Prabhuji, you have a question? Dharmendra Prasad, Hare Krishna. Yes, Prabhuji, you can ask. Dharmendra Prasad. Yes, Prabhuji, you can unmute and ask. Okay. So we go to the next verse. What does Prabhuji, what does the Krishna say here? Vavyasvatmika buddhir eke kuru nandana bahu saka hi anantascha buddhayo vavyasi. What is Vavyasvatmika buddhir? That is Vyavasa means a profession. What is one was firmly, completely fixed in this intelligence. What is the completely fixed intelligence? That is, they are in this path, they are very resolute in purpose. And they are that kind of intelligence, they are very fixed in that. And those who are fixed and their endeavor, but those on this path are resolute in purpose, and the intelligence of those who are irresolute is many branched. So what is here? We understand here. We should understand this word, Vyavasatmika, resolute in Krishna consciousness, this intelligence. So what does it mean? So actually, there's a very nice comment by the Vishwanatha Thakur, which was, it was an inspire, it played us, Prabhupada was inspired by that, actually in his life that made a significant impact on his life. What did Vishwanath Thakur said was, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur instructs that by satisfaction of the spiritual master, the Supreme Personality of Godhead becomes satisfied. And by not satisfying the spiritual master, there is no chance of being promoted to the plane of Krishna consciousness. Yasya prasadat bhagavat prasad. I should therefore meditate and pray for his mercy 3 times a day and offer my respectful obeisances unto him, my spirit. So this was what was the thing where what made Prabhupada very determined to just follow the orders of his spiritual master. That became his life and goal, life's goal and mission. And he had a lot of challenges when he was carrying out this to preach in the West and to publish books and all that. But still, this is what he was. He was Vyavasatmika, very firm. And why he was so, and what does this do? What does this intelligence does for us? This intelligence will make us firm in our yes. Please take care of your background noise. So here, Vyavasatmika Buddhi, that is the one-pointed intelligence. It is because you have, it is focused on Bhakti Yoga. So what does, how, it is what faith they have, it is explained here by Prabhupada. A strong faith that by Krishna consciousness, one will be elevated to the highest perfection of life. It's called Vyavasatmika intelligence. Chaitanya Charitra Amrita, Madhya Leela, there Mahaprabhu says, Shraddha Sabde Vishwasa Kahe, Sudrabha Nishchaya, Krishna Bhakti Kaile, Sarva Karma Pratahaya. Faith means unflinching trust in something. So when one is engaged in duties of Krishna consciousness, he need not act in relationship to the material world with obligations to it. So whatever that is, so if I do Krishna, be in Krishna consciousness, all endeavors will be successful. Everything will be right. It might be appear externally wrong, like Hanuman was there, where it externally looked at burning Sri Lanka was wrong because you can't burn somebody else's property, but he was doing for the Lord because that. So it is Krishna conscious. Whatever you do, it is right. So this intelligence will help us to grow in Krishna consciousness. That means should have a Shraddha, faith in that being in Krishna consciousness is going to help us, taking shelter of the Lord. So whatever good that happens to me, it is the mercy of the Lord. Even if it bad happens, it's a challenge which is given by the Lord for us to go closer to him. So there will always be challenges for devotees when you take to this Krishna consciousness path. So you have to be only determined. You have to have that intelligence to say that this is what the Lord wants, and we have to be firm in this, that Vyavasatmika Buddhi. That is the Buddhi Yoga. Only by knowledge we can, and how we can have the strong faith, that only by rights in the purport, that the cause for the struggles. The resolute purpose of, anybody can read this paragraph, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Yes, go ahead, Mataji.
The resolute purpose of a person in Krishna consciousness is based on knowledge. Vasudevah Shravanam iti sa Mahatma su durlabha. A person in Krishna consciousness is the rare good soul who knows perfectly that Vasudeva or Krishna is the root of all manifested causes. As by watering the root of a tree, one automatically distributes water to the leaves and branches, so by acting in Krishna consciousness, one can render the highest service to everyone, namely self, family, society, country, humanity, etc. If Krishna is satisfied by one's actions, then everyone will be satisfied. Hare Krishna.
Sorry. So what does Prabhupada write here is that only by knowledge, that is what's the knowledge, that we are the soul and not the body, and we are related to the Lord. So by the thing, we'll be coming to this level of faith. Okay, this faith. But we should also realize it, not just know the knowledge theory, but we should also realize it and experience whatever be the situation, because we are put into many situations, but in all that, we should have this faith that this is, we have to be a person in Krishna consciousness can, so that is the highest service to everyone. So, acting in Krishna consciousness, one can render the highest service to everyone. If Krishna is satisfied, then everyone will be satisfied. So, this should be the attitude. This is one is, and then this realization will come only through experience by faith. So this is the, and challenges will be there, but we should. So the whole process, our depends on the perfect knowledge of the soul beyond the conception of the body, not theoretically but practically. When there is no longer a chance for sense gratification manifested in fruitive activities. One who is not firmly fixed in mind is diverted by various types of fruitive activities. So, this is what is required to be in this, to come out of this bondage. You have to be fixed in this knowledge, that you have to have this one-pointed intelligence. Okay. So, Buddha is a strong faith in that by Krishna consciousness, one way elevated to the highest perfection is called Vaivasmatic intelligence, Shraddha. And this is what Prabhupada's mission was. He took it up seriously, and that is what was his mission and goal of life. By satisfying his spiritual master is the agent of the Lord Krishna. So either the representatives of the Lord or doing the order, pleasing the Lord, you will not incur any sin. So this is what was his mission. So, but why people don't take to it? Here Krishna is answering. Men of small knowledge are very much attracted to the flowery words of the Vedas, which recommend various fruitive activities for elevation to heavenly planets, resultant good birth, power, and so forth. Being desirous of sense gratification and opulent life, they say there's nothing more than this. So, what happens is, why they are nothing? Because they get attracted to the Vedic. There are so many rituals there in Vedas. It gives that Karma Kanda section where it says if you do this, you will get to enjoy this much. And if you do that, you will get enjoyment, like you will get a good wealth or a good wife, or you get good health, and so many things. And these are all like flowering, and it's all very attractive for generally people get attracted by that because it gives them some good birth, some power, some health also, wealth also, and that they are uh, attracted by that, whatever the material benefits they get. So, and that's for the benefit, sense gratification and opulent. And these are it because they have the tendencies to enjoy and life. And also they have the tendency to control. They want the power. They want it. So they think life is all this and nothing more. So just enjoy yourself. So when people, so the Lord says that these people have less small knowledge. There's having not Vyavasatmika buddhi. So we have this tendency. But do we need that? What happens when you have too much of opulence? When we have too much of opulences, that means you have too much of wealth or too much of thing, then what happens? Then we spend more time in trying to safeguard that. then they'll have more and more desires. And that becomes like a bondage. We get bonded by the what, and you won't have time for your spiritual life. So, but too much of that may not be the same for all. There might be a person who was born in a rich family, but he must have led a very regulated life because he would have had good samskaras and all that. Then he won't get excited by this opulence. He'll be calm. But suppose a person was poor and he becomes rich, then what happens? He's flying everywhere, and for him, this money will become a problem because he'll be always worried about the money, trying to get more and more there. Something like fire. So, just like fire, if you don't handle it properly, then it will burn you. So, it's not exciting to be with fire, isn't it? It's very difficult. So, same way with the opulences, whatever the opulence life you lead, if you could use it for the Krishna consciousness, then it won't be a cause for distraction. Otherwise, it will be a hindrance in our spiritual life. That's what here thinks. So, actually, in the last class, if you know, Krishna was talking about karma kanda mentality. He said you'll become famous, you'll become victorious, you'll enjoy, so fight. But now Krishna is telling us to go beyond that, so that you fight with Vyavasatmika Buddhi. That's what here we understand here. So he's going step by step. He's going logically, he's leading us to, because Arjuna said, no, it will incur sin. Here he's trying to tell us how to get detached from the material world. In the minds of those who are too attached to sense enjoyment and material opulence and who are bewildered by such things, the resolute determination for devotional service to the Supreme Lord does not take place. So, why it does not take place? Here now Krishna is telling that Bhogaishvara Prasaktanam Tayapartha Chetasam Vyavasmatik Buddhi Samadav Na Vidyate. So, if you are in the minds of those who are too attached to sense enjoyment, bhoga and aishwarya, and they are bewildered by such things. So, the resolute determination for devotional service does not take place. So, it does not take place. They are not able to keep fixed in the devotional service because they get distracted and they are so much attached to sense enjoyment and material opulences. Okay. The Vedas deal, and now he is telling the Vedas deal mainly with the subject of three modes of material nature. O Arjuna, become transcendental to these three modes, be free from all dualities and from all anxieties for gain and safety, and be established in the self. So, what does he say here? That what is anxiety Arjuna has, that whether he will win or whether he will, others are going to win. He says now, if you go beyond these three modes of nature, it is whatever the Vedas deal with, because then you will be fixed on the knowledge of the self, Atmavan. So, Trigunya Vishaya Veda, Nishchaya Gunaya Bhavachana, Nirvando Nitya Sattvato, Niryoga Shema Atmavan. That means the Vedas deal mainly with the subject of three modes of material age, Trigunya Vishaya. O Arjuna, become transcendental to these three modes, be free from all dualities and from all anxieties for gain and safety, and be established in the self. So I think somebody can read this first paragraph. It's very explanatory. Hare Krishna. All material activities.
Can I read, Mataji?
Yes, Mataji. Go ahead.
Purport. All material activities involve actions and reactions in the three modes of material nature. They are meant for fruitive results, which cause bondage in the material world. The Devas deal mostly with fruitive activities to gradually elevate the general public from the field of sense gratification to a position on the transcendental plane. Arjuna, as a student and friend of Lord Krishna, is advised to raise himself to the transcendental position of Vedanta philosophy, where in the beginning there is a Brahma
Jignasa.
Jignasa, or questions on the supreme transcendence. All the living entities who are in the material world are struggling very hard for existence. For them, the Lord, after creation of the material world, gave the Vedic wisdom advising how to live and get rid of the material entanglement. When the activities for sense gratification, namely the Karma Kanda chapter, are finished, then the chapter of spiritual realization is offered in the form of the Upanishads, which are part of different Vedas, as the Bhagavad Gita is the part of the fifth Veda, namely the Mahabharata. The Upanishads mark the beginning of transcendental life.
So here what does Prabhupada say is, Vedas, okay, starts off when Vedas were given by the Lord, and the Karma Kanda chapter tells us how to live here and get rid of the material entanglement. Otherwise, but what are we doing is we get entangled with that, with the sense gratification, that what are the opulences we get. We think that is the life. That is doing those rituals in the Vedas, and that is the life. But actually, we don't go beyond the other chapters. After there is a beyond Karma Kanda chapter is the Jnana Kanda, the Upanishads and all, which tell us how to get go to the spiritual realization. So here Krishna says you go beyond that. You go beyond the three modes of nature, three guna. That is the thing, because you have, and as long as the material body exists, there are actions and reactions in the material modes. So we have to learn tolerance in the face of duality, such as happiness and distress, or cold and warmth. And by tolerating such dualities, you become free from anxieties regarding gain and thing. So why do you have to bother? Whatever happens, you're doing it in Krishna consciousness. You're doing for the pleasure of the Lord. Okay. So it is, you just do a duty, just do a thing, and don't bother about the happiness or distress. It is the anxiety of the Lord. Only He has to worry whether it is thing. Why you have to carry the anxieties? And even in even when we are talking about compassion, there again Krishna talked about tolerance. You have to tolerate such dualities. We have to be, so transcendent position is achieved only in full Krishna consciousness. That depends on the goodwill of Krishna. Okay. So then after doing that, what happens? After rising above the gunas, then here Krishna is giving us a very nice analogy. All purposes of a small well can be served by a great reservoir of water. Similarly, all the purposes of the Vedas can be served to one who knows the purpose behind them. Okay. What does he mean here? See, in those days, I don't know if it is still there, the wells are there in nowadays, but in those days in villages, they used to have wells. And there were some different wells, like for different purpose. There'll be a well for drinking purposes. There'll be another kind of well where they'll use it only for washing clothes or for bathing. And there'll be a well for religious thing for the god, for the temple duties. They will reserve some water so that they don't pollute it. So like that, they'll have different wells around for different purposes. But if they had a river, then the river will serve all the purposes. In the river, they'll take a bath. They will wash the clothes in the river, because the water is flowing, isn't it? And they'll use it for drinking, everything. So if the river is there, everything can be used. So it is actually it's troublesome to go to different wells for different tasks. But if you have a river, you can do everything in one place. So now what does he compare this analogy? Actually, it's the river is the Krishna. If you do all your activities to please Krishna, in Krishna consciousness, then you don't have to go to different demigods, devatas, for the opulences or for your sense gratification. Because everything you will get by working in Krishna consciousness. That is how it is compared here. The river is compared to Krishna. And there's another comparison, like river symbolizes bhakti, and whereas the different wells symbolizes the rituals in Karma Kanda. Okay. So if you see that, being in Krishna consciousness, you get help. And here, Prabhupada writes very nicely in Kali Yuga. There's something. So here, when Lord was asked by great son, so here is very nicely, it's written here. I mean, you can read the other purport also. It's gone. In this age of Kali, most of the population is foolish and not adequately educated to understand Vedanta philosophy. So we don't have the people to teach us Vedas, nor we have the life, that means to understand the Vedas and the Vedanta philosophy. The best purpose of Vedanta philosophy is served by inoffensively chanting the holy name of the Lord. Vedanta is the last word in Vedic wisdom, and the author and knower of the Vedanta philosophy is Lord Krishna. Highest Vedantist is a great soul who takes pleasure in chanting the holy name of the Lord. That is the ultimate purpose of all Vedic mysticism. So here, clearly in the purport, it says that just chant holy names. They were chanting Hare Krishna Mahamantra, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. That if you oppose, you should chant with faith, and it will support us in everything. All your needs will be taken care of, just like the river. So all you need is to take the shelter of the Lord. If you take the shelter of the Lord and shelter of the holy name, is more than enough. That can go beyond the three gunas. So you don't have to think. So, sorry. So now, see, till now from 41 to 46, he was talking, Krishna was explaining Bhakti Yoga, as in the has a Buddhi Yoga, right? He was talking about how you have to perform your work, your duty in Krishna consciousness, right? But now from 47 onwards, he's going to talk about how you have to do your duty with as a Nishkama Karma Yoga. And this is a very important verse actually. And it's a verse which has been referred by many people, they quote also. Karmani evadikaraste ma paleshu kadanchana ma karma pala heturgur ma te sangosti vakkarman. That is, you have a right, adhikar, to perform your prescribed duty, but you are not entitled to the fruit of actions. People know, actually they go by the first line here where it says you have a right to perform your duty. So this is what everybody says. You have to do your duty. Work is your worship. And this is what is told in Bhagavad Gita, that you have to do your duty. And here Krishna talks about work. Arjuna, you must fight. But what they don't see is they don't go to the next line. What does the next line say? That you are not entitled to the fruits of action. That is, you have the right to work. You have the right to do your prescribed duty, but they fail to read the next line. Was it say you're not meant to enjoy the results? Why does it say? Why does Krishna say that? Because you're not the cause of the results. So we are not the only one who is causing the result. There are so many players in it, right? So Krishna says you are not meant to enjoy the results. Actually, what happens when you read that, when you take it, it's like a blow to your ego, your false ego. You have done the duty, you have done the work, and you now Krishna is saying you're not entitled to the fruits. So that is like, people never, it is very difficult to accept it. Generally when people will ask to do some work, they always look into it and say, is there anything for me? What will I gain by doing that? Will I get some money, or will I get some fame, or will I get satisfaction? So they will always look, what will I get? That will be the philosophy. I mean, normally everybody looks like that. So now, but Krishna is saying, no, the results are not yours. They do not belong to you. Do not think you are the cause of the results. It's actually like you are trying to kill your own ego, and you are not. So this is sometimes many people may not accept this reverse. What is the gratification? So when Krishna is telling to work without payment is a blow to the false ego. And then Again, he continues to say, never consider yourself the cause of results and never be attached to not doing duty. Doesn't mean that because you're not going to get the results, doesn't imply that you need not work. People will say, no, why if I can't get the results, I may not work. So, but he says, no, you have to work. You have to, your duty is there, you have to work. You have to do your prescribed duty. You can't say no to that. But you are not entitled to the results. So actually, when you try to understand this, this is the way where your spiritual life starts. Once you start accepting it, this is the point where the spiritual life begins. So long we have been identifying with ourselves, with our body relations. We have that to this ego all our lives. Now we have to kill this ego and say, okay, yes, we are not the cause and the results are not the only thing. We are not the only cause. So the results are, the ownership is by the Lord. So it takes time. So we have to kill this idea that who am I for sex. So we have to give up everything for the Lord. Even doing is due. But people say, I'll give up everything for the Lord, and they will also give up doing the duty. That is not right. So Krishna says you have to continue to do a duty, but you are not, you cannot desire to enjoy the results. So it is better to. So this is the thing. Actually, there are three considerations. There are prescribed duties, capricious work, inaction. I think we are going to learn more about this karma yoga in the next chapter. So prescribed duties are activities enjoyed in terms of one's acquired modes of nature and inaction. So as far as they can be. So here Arjuna was therefore advised by the Lord to fight as a matter of duty without attachment to the result. His non-participation in the battle is also another kind of attachment. Such attachment never leads one to the path of salvation. Okay, any attachment, positive or negative, is cause for both and bondage. Inaction is sinful. Therefore, fighting as a matter of duty was the only auspicious path of salvation for Arjuna. So Krishna says, you fight, you just fight. Don't look at whether I'm going to get any gain or loss or anything, you just fight. Like Prabhupada says, no, when you some devotees were asking, why chanting? He says, no, you just chant. That's all. That is, the action itself is the reward. Do the action itself is a reward. Beautiful work means doing proper action in which the performance is its own reward. That means you do it with detachment, selflessly. That is what is being here and advised by the Lord, equipoised. Okay. Perform your duty, equipoised, abandoning all attachment to the success or failure. Such equanimity is called yoga. So now he is explaining what is it. So people will either you become successful or there'll be you have successful or a failure, right? But sometimes what happens when they become successful, they will stop doing duty. Oh, I've got so much success. I want to enjoy. I will take a break and all that. They don't want. But if they had if they are a failure, then they're disappointed. Oh, what did this thing? Why they'll give up? Why I have to do these things? It's all failure. It's all so much disgusting, and they don't want to do it. So whether you get success or you get failure, both can become hindrance to doing a duty. So that's what here Krishna is trying to point out. That both success or failure can become a hindrance to your duty. So you be equipoised. Don't get attached to any of that. Whether you get success or failure, you just do your duty in spite of all situations. Like every man, he says, this is the mentality which we should have while working. Arjuna, every moment you are fighting. So it's a moment of success or failure. So be equipoised. Even Prabhupada followed this principle all his life. He had a lot of success as well as failures, but he was not disturbed by that. Okay? He was equipoised. He had Like at one point his business failed. Then he left the Agrasta, then took up sannyas. Then when he came to US, he had a lot of challenges. It's not that it was the smooth sailing for him. It was even the journey on the ship from cargo ship when he traveled from India to thing. Even on the ship also he had 2 heart attacks. Yeah, and his health was not good, but still he was not disappointed or discouraged. But he was equipoised. He only believed in Krishna consciousness. Okay, believed in the Lord, and he said he followed this principle all his life. And he also was telling us, you preaching is your dharma. Even if it is to the four walls, if you are asked to preach, you just to do it. You do your work and Krishna will worry about the results. This is the mentality we should have. Like, the salesman. The salesman will be given some product to sell, with a selling price and what discount he can give. But he need not worry what was the cost price for the owner or what was the what profit is going to get. But all his duty was is to sell the product at the selling price he was asked to do, and the discounts he is allowed to give. All he has to do is just that. To getting the profit or loss, that is the headache of the owner. So here, whether you get success or failure is the headache of the Lord. So all you have to do is just do the duty. Okay. So in this, there's a nice about yoga. So this is, I think this first paragraph is very interesting to read. Anybody can volunteer. Hare Krishna. Sarika Mataji.
Yes, Mataji, Hare Krishna.
Hmm.
Krishna tells the 48, na 2.48.
Yes,
Ah.
Mataji.
Krishna tells Arjun that he should act in yoga. And what is that yoga? Yoga means to concentrate the mind upon the Supreme by controlling the ever disturbing senses. And who is the Supreme? The Supreme is the Lord. And because he himself is telling Arjuna to fight, Arjun has nothing to do with the results of the fight. Gain or victory are Krishna's concern. Arjun is simply advised to act according to the dictation of Krishna. The following of Krishna's dictation is real yoga, and this is practiced in the process called Krishna consciousness. By Krishna consciousness only can one give up the sense of proprietorship. One has to become the servant of Krishna or the servant of Krishna. That is the right way to discharge duty in Krishna consciousness, which alone can help one to act in yoga. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So here Krishna is clearly explaining us we have to, what is the attitude we should have, or we should be completely fixed in knowing our position, and we have to become the servant of Krishna, or the servant dasa, the servant of the Krishna. So that is you have to discharge our duty in Krishna consciousness. This alone will help us to act in yoga. So this is the Arjuna was a Kshatriya. As such, he is participating in the Varnashma Dharma institution. It is said in Vishnu Purana that in Varnashma Dharma, the whole aim is to satisfy Vishnu. So no one should satisfy himself, as is the role in the material world. But one should satisfy Krishna. So unless one satisfies Krishna, one cannot correctly observe the principles of Varnashma Dharma. Indirectly, Arjuna was advised to act as Krishna told him. So this is the position. So this is the principle which we have to follow in our day-to-day life. Okay. Keep all abominable activities for distant by devotional service. That is the Buddhi Yoga. So this was the yoga. This was the principle which is said to focus only on the Lord and do your thing. And what is abominable activities? Abominable means that you want to do it mentally to work and enjoys your result. So that is abominable. So he says you don't keep that away and only focus on the devotional service. That consciousness, surrender unto the Lord. Those who want to enjoy the fruits of the work are misers. So he is telling Arjuna, don't be a miser. You don't fight in that way. You just fight for the Lord. Okay, give up the things. So we have to use the gods. And then in the other 3 verses, Krishna is explaining the
Before.
benefits of Buddhi Yoga. A man engaged in devotional service rids himself of both good and bad reactions even in this life. Therefore, strive for yoga, which is the art of all. So, by doing Nishkama Karma Yoga, you are doing the work in Krishna consciousness. What happens? What's the benefit? You won't get bondage to the reactions of work. Karma bandha is not there. And then, by engaging devotional service to the Lord, great sages or devotees free themselves from the results of the work in the material. In this way, they become free from the cycle of death and birth and death and attain the state beyond all miseries. That means they are not affected by the cycle of birth and death. They are getting free from that, okay, by working in Buddhi Yoga. So when your intelligence has passed out of the dense forest of delusion, you shall become indifferent to all that has been heard and all that is to be heard. That is, you don't get affected by the rituals in the Vedas. Actually, Vedic rituals are required for people who are in the beginning stage because we need
Kutuno.
action.
Who is Kutuno? Who Kutiene? Who Kutuno?
Okay. So that is the thing, benefit. By being in Krishna consciousness, what else? You become indifferent to all that has been heard and all that is to be heard. Okay. Then when your mind is no longer disturbed by the flowery language of Vedas, and when it remains fixed in the trance of self-realization, that you're you're the soul and not the body, and you're the servant of the Krishna, and you have to do everything. You're surrendered to the Lord. So you're doing everything in the thing. Then you have attained the divine consciousness. So what the Krishna's Lord Prabhupada in his lecture in New York, he says, we have to decide, shall I work for sense gratification or shall I work for satisfaction of the Supreme? If it is for satisfaction of the Supreme, Krishna consciousness, then our life becomes spiritualized. Spiritual life does not mean that we have to change the activities in which we are already engaged or that our body will change to something extraordinary. Same body, same features, same activities, same engagement, everything remains same. But we have to decide whether activities will be done from the spiritual platform or from material platform. That's all. For what is the attitude we have to change? Our consciousness. Then if you are in the material platform, then you'll get entangled in the birth life cycle and you'll be entangled by the reactions. Good or bad, whatever be the reactions of the work. If you do it with the Krishna consciousness, then no anxiety, because it's all anxieties are all on the part of Krishna. So he had all success or failure or any anxieties on the relationship, you are giving it up to the Lord. So this is how you can answer for incurring sin. So these are the benefits. Freedom from good and by doing work in Buddhi Yoga, freedom from cycle and birth, indifferent to Vedic rituals. That is indifferent to Vedic rituals when you have reached the top level, perfection, not for the beginning level. You need those rituals to practice. Then once you are in that stage, you realize your relationship with Krishna is advanced. Then you will be able to go back to Godhead. Okay. So with this, I will close my recording. Stop.